Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And folks, for the next 70 minutes, Steel Rain and I are going to be talking about
Ow.
the hottest and the latest Xbox gaming news. And folks, we're going to open up with some controversy because guess what? Xbox Rewards seems to have taken it on the chin because a lot of people are complaining. And one of the biggest Xbox fans in the land, the man to hit 1 million first before anybody, had some stout opinions regarding the changes that have recently come. And they're not good, folks. Look, I'm at 103,000 points. I thought that was a lot until I saw some people in the chat were like, yeah, boom, I'm at 700,000. I'm like, oh, good on you. But yeah, they seem to lessen the points. We're gonna really break that down. We have a new leader in Xbox as PlayStation continues to be leaderless. Xbox seems to be making all the right moves, especially rewarding some of their internal, C-level executives positions. Like we saw Matt Booty get a promotion. We saw Sarah Bond, who we talked about last night, get a major position. Earlier in the year, before the ABK done, well, Phil Spencer is now the head of Microsoft Gaming. Well, now we have, of course, new information regarding a former head of Turn 10 Studios in Alan Hartman has taken over of Xbox Game Studios. We're going to get into that. And if that wasn't enough news to keep you busy for 70 minutes, folks, we're going to be talking about Clockwork Revolution because guess what? The devs are talking about Clockwork Revolution, and it just became available in the wish list on Steam. You know what that says to me? That says to me that a 2024 release is certainly possible. But before all of that, we got to welcome in my brother from another one half of the talented, the unbelievable greatness that you can find Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Living Split Screen. Of course, my brother, Steel Rain. How you feeling, dude?
Boom! The man with the plan, Mr. 5 Days himself, the pillar of the community and the one that always lifts everybody up around him. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you found a better place to be, especially on a Thursday afternoon. You might be working, so that's probably a better place. You got to make some money. But hopefully you can kind of walk off to the side, listen into us, get into some of these topics, and boom, I'm doing all right, man. You know, I'm gonna have. We don't have a show this weekend, so unfortunately, I won't be able to get into it. I'm spending some family time with the wife and whatnot. But Call of Duty is a very interesting topic because I just bought the Call of Duty today. Right, I wasn't going to get it, but with them carrying everything over, the new maps, from what I played in the beta, it made me feel good. And I'm a multiplayer dude, so me playing only for multiplayer, which is kind of how I see it anyway, it's nothing new to me. So for me so far, I kind of agree with you, Boom. I actually like what the campaign is giving, and I'm only a few hours in. Don't shoot me, everybody. I know it's crazy to say.
How dare you like a game that most of the gaming media hates? How dare you?
I'm on like the 8th or 9th mission. You know,
nice.
I'm playing on what is it? Veteran is the one
just
hard,
under
dude. The hardest.
I'm playing on Veteran now, dude, and it is not easy.
It's either Veteran or Hardened, whichever one's right under the hardest one. Because I like to have that challenge, but also
I usually go Hardened first, and then try and get the achievement for Veteran. It's a slog for sure.
My point, Boom, that I wanted to make with that is if this is a 4, I don't know why we would take any reviewer serious that would call this a 4, in my personal opinion. But again, to each their own. I don't think it's the worst Call of Duty campaign. But I mean, I'm having a fun time with it, and that's what game is about, right, Boom? But I'm ready to get into some of these topics today. A lot of energy, a lot of heat. I think we're going to get into, and much love to everybody in the chat. Bring your conversation to the chat. Let's go.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, I think I'm just about to cross the 30-hour mark in Call of Duty. I've already rolled credit once on regular, on like the medium normal. I am playing through on hardened. I tried a veteran just to see what it looks like, and I was destroyed. So I'm gonna probably try and at least get the hardened achievement. I am mopping up achievements. I got actually, as you guys can and guys and gals can hear, I got a cold. Thanks to unfortunately my nephew, who I love to death. He came here for the weekend with his mom. And we had a great time, and he had a little bit of a sniffle. And unfortunately, kid cooties, as we know, they're devastating for old folks. So I got a bit of a cold. So last night at like 2 a.m., I had a really bad stuffy nose, and I couldn't sleep. I don't know about you, but I can't sleep when I have a stuffy nose. So I said, you know what? Let me sit on the couch and let me just spray my nose and kind of just let it go. I'm going to play some Call of Duty. So at 2 a.m, I got the achievement where you have to land on this moving vehicle to defuse a bomb. And I was like, yes, 2 a.m. achievement. I did it. So yeah, I'm mopping up the achievements. I'm having a blast with it. I want to go into Steel. And of course, I want to give a big shout out to one of the community members I want to use as a platform to talk about Xbox rewards. And that is Logan Meyer. Now, Logan is a great dude. He's one of the big voices, at least in my opinion, in the community. And he actually put out a tweet that I'm using for today's show. And he says, real talk, the Microsoft Rewards program used to be phenomenal, a true overabundance of value. Now they've gone completely too far the other way and have made it a chore that doesn't give you much of anything. The team are good folks, but come on, the current state isn't it. Now, I bring him up because I also want to bring up somebody that I think pretty much everybody should know. Maybe you don't know Logan. I know, right? But I think everyone knows Stallion 83. Well, who is Stallion 83? Well, he's one of the first people to get 1 million gamer score. He has been a pillar. I don't know him personally. Love to shake his hand one day. Maybe we can meet in person, maybe during an Xbox event. Seems like a very good dude. He actually has over 2 million. I'm looking at his Twitter page. It says gaming's world record. He's certified to have the highest Xbox gamer score of 2 million. He was one of the first to make a 2 million gamer score, and that was November 21st of 2018. So this guy's legit. So he put out a tweet. Now it's simplistic in nature, but he says Xbox reward points for getting an achievement has been slashed to 5 rather than it originally used to be 50. They cut off 45 points. And okay, so here's the thing. I've always been the kind of gamer or consumer that I get enough for a $25 gift card and I'm cashing it in and I'm buying like Halo coins or something to buy a new outfit, which, by the way, the Mark V outfit is available. I also bought that at 2 o'clock in the morning. God damn it, Halo. I spent another $17 because, listen, that Mark V armor is
dope.
I mean, if you're a Halo fan, you got to get that armor.
I think it should be in the game by standard, but you know, it is what it is.
You know, I don't disagree with you. I will say this. Campaign. I will say this. One of the things that I don't want to go off on a tangent here. I just because Steele made a mention of it, and I want to throw it out there to 343, who I don't think actually listens to this show, but if they do, please, more freebies, man. You need to start adding some full armors
for playing the game
as perks in Xbox Game Pass. I don't want level boosts. And I don't want none of that stuff. I don't want like paints for the vehicles that I don't use. What I'm hoping is you folks, you want Halo's coming back in a big way. Start giving some free shit away. Sorry, not to be like a D-bag or anything. I'm not about I'm not about if it's free, I'll take 3. I'm not that kind of a guy. We like to give. But as long as many people has stayed, even when Halo was on its limping last leg, you got to reward people, folks. Start giving away full armors, make them cool. You know what? Unvolt a couple of things from some of the past seasons and give them away. Hey, listen, you know what? Thank you for being a fan. Here you go. Boom. Armor whatever.
Honestly, Boom, I think the easiest thing to do would be go through every Halo game, and at the end of a battle pass, drop in an armor from that Halo, right? Halo
I
1,
love it.
drop an armor.
I
Halo
love it.
2, drop the armor.
Yeah.
And especially when you get the Team Osiris and all those guys, hey, now you got
Yeah.
lock armor. Now, you know what I'm saying? It just gives you a variety and also gives you a reason to grind it out, because it's like, man, not only do I get the battle pass, but now I also get this cool armor from this previous game that I remember playing, and it reminds me of this moment. At least that's what I would like to see.
I like it. I like what you're putting down. I think that's brilliant. I think that's brilliant. Again, Microsoft's doing Xbox doing a lot of great things.
Right.
There's some things they need to do better. So let's
get to it.
Let's get focus on Xbox rewards. Now I know that we have, let's see how many people we got about 330 people in the chat, which is awesome.
Hit that like button. Let's go.
Hit the like button. Sure. If you're new, finding the channel for the first time, of course, I ask that you subscribe. We are 324 subs away from 14K. So we'd love it. Love to get it, folks. So, help a brother out and hit that subscribe button. But who in the chat has noticed over the last couple of months that the Xbox rewards has kind of diminished a bit, especially the app on your Xbox? Like, there used to be, now there's like a bunch of fivers. Watch a video, $5. Go to YouTube, watch a $5. Watch click on here to see Ori and or whatever. And there's a bunch of fivers, which is nice. I click on them all the time. I get my fivers. But they used to have a program that when you spent money on, like, say, movies, you bought 3 movies, you got 2,500 points. And because Mrs. Boom and I watch a lot of films, that's we'd max that out like in the first like 2 weeks, and we get our 2,500 points. They used to have the monthly 2,000 points. Do all of these chores. You know what I'm saying? Like, donate to this one. Check in over here, do a Bing search, and you get your 2,000 points for your monthly. That's gone. There's a lot of things that and again, I know from what I understand, I don't know for sure, but I heard some people in the chat and in the community talking about there's a new guy running the show. Well, the new guy is obviously he's cutting this thing off at the ankles. And here's the thing. You got to remember, folks, this not breaking news, not the biggest thing.
That's been happening.
But Xbox is pro gamer. And Phil does listen. I know people from Xbox listen to the show. So we're going to politely discuss and kind of throw it out there. Now, this is coming off the heels of the big hubbub where they cut the Xbox Game Pass for employees. And Phil Spencer got involved and was like, wait, hold on a second now. I'm going to talk to the money man over here and be like, listen.
Yeah, he got that.
Yeah, you this is perks for Xbox and Microsoft employees. No, what we're not going to do, head of Microsoft Gaming, is take this perks away from our workers. So that was kibosh. He obviously apologized for the the mix up or the, I don't know, the firing or whoever that made that move, whatever you want to do, suspension, a good, strong talking to. But we need to find out what's going on. So I'm going to continue to bring this up. And I'm actually going to at both Phil. I want to at Sarah. I want to at Aaron, especially Aaron Greenberg. I think he would be able to answer this more than anybody immediately. Something's wrong, folks. Something is broken with the Xbox rewards, and I'm not sure if they were giving too many rewards away or what, but you guys and gals started this. We're taking advantage of it. To pull it away now seems a little bit disingenuous. Let's get your hot take on this deal.
Well, I'm gonna definitely pull in some of the ideas from the chat because I feel like they're right on the beat. Pragmatic Eagle, he's gonna be the one of them. He was saying one of the reasons why they probably ended up doing this is one of those scenarios where the few that are causing issues are probably ruining it for the majority, right? What I mean by that is that there are mods and things that allow you to unlock achievements in certain ecosystems. I know you can do it on Steam. I haven't tried it or anything like that, so I'm not as familiar with it, but I know there are mods out there that allow you to do those things. So there could be something like that. Maybe there's some hacking going on, and their way of beating the system is maybe giving out less. Although I'm not really leaning to that side of it more so.
Mhm.
But I do think that that's an interesting point because people do. I mean, again, people play very small games, pay $5-10 for a small game to get 1,000 gamer score, right? And people can run it up that way. So there was always a way to get around it. And again, so the few sometimes ruin it for the many, and that's unfortunate. Now, the other thing too, though, about this is that I will be very transparent. I'm not somebody who typically pays attention to the rewards program. I don't do all the little steps or whatever. I'm just a gamer. I play my games. When I end up getting some form of rewards, like I like looking when I make a purchase and it pops up and says, "Oh, you have $40 in your Microsoft account." I'm like, "Oh, wow, really? Well, it looks like I'm only spending about 20 today, right?" So, it's that gives you a good feeling. So seeing that reward, I can't go against. So to see them kind of pull back from the reward program and not find better ways or at least be more transparent of, hey, these are some of the issues that we are experiencing. This is why we are doing it this way. We do have people who are abusing the system. So our way of not taking the system completely away is, hey, limiting it down more. Yes, you're gonna have to put a little bit of more work in, but and unfortunately, business is business, right? We can't hand out everything for free. And to be
Right.
completely honest, it comparatively a couple years ago, it was extremely generous because it was kind of at a point to where to answer Serv's question from the chat, it was kind of at a point to where if you spent money on a couple games within the Xbox ecosystem, you are quickly at almost $20 sometimes already in your Microsoft account, which is kind of like, hey, after you buy a few games, you're like, wow, you're kind of more inclined to buy games that way. But again, if it is abuse that's led to that, it's unfortunate. The main thing for me about this entire thing, because there's not many other details, we're kind of riding in the blind, I would say, is that transparency. Xbox, like, if you're going to make changes like this, like, you can't play both sides. Like, you can't be a very customer facing business, and then when there's certain changes like this that happen where you're like, oh, we're not going to talk about it, you're just going to have to figure it out, we'll let the podcast talk about it, whether there's going to be a bunch of negativity out there, who cares, business is business. At least we're not firing anybody yet, right? So I mean, hopefully that's not the perspective that's happening, but that's how it kind of gets painted, right? And when you're consistently and constantly wanting to change your narrative, as Xbox has been constantly trying to do, going this direction with the rewards program can be seen as a negative, but more so for me, it's just the lack of transparency about the program. Hey, as a consumer, just let me know what's going on. Hey, these are the issues. I can either choose to understand them or not. And you can kind of go from there. At least you've given me a reason, right? So I mean, that's kind of my perspective on it. But from what I can tell, it's a little bit more grindy, if anything.
Listen, I think that's as fair as you could be, right? Like, we don't know for sure exactly what is happening because no one has said anything. And I think ultimately that is the problem. Transparency is key. I think obviously it's something that I want Microsoft to do. I want them to address this deal. If they address it and they give us a reasoning behind the shortening of points,
Right.
or the shrinking of how you gain points,
Mhm.
I think that is ultimately going to be good for the brand because, like I said, nobody wants. Again, this is not the biggest story of the week that you're probably going to hear because there is a lot going on, but I thought I saw so many people in the community talking about it that it was worthy of bringing up in the conversation. Because, like I said, I'm sitting currently at 103,000 points. I do my Bing searches every day. I read the news thing, to get my 100 points. I play the Jewel game. That's like that's like columns from like the old Genesis days. I play that for the 30 points. I buy a lot of stuff on Xbox, so I get points that way as well. But I think that they have diminished or kind of reduced the different programs that give you like these big bombs, like the 2,500 points in one shot when you buy 3 films, the 2,000 monthly that you had all these things to do. You had to get an achievement in a game on Game Pass. And it gave you a whole bunch of things to do. And obviously, for 2,000 points, you did all 5 or 6 things. That kind of went away without even without an explanation. I think that's one of the ultimately that's one of the biggest problems, that it went away. We don't have no idea what happened to it, and no one said anything. So, like I said, I'm going to politely reach out to marketing. I'm going to reach out to Aaron Greenberg on the socials. He is pretty good about responding and answering, and maybe he has an answer. Maybe they are, because sometimes when you see these things change, and Steel's onto something. Maybe there's some hacking going on. Maybe there's some people, the few ruining it for the many. That happens more than you could possibly know. But
Right.
maybe they are revamping it, or
It could be, yeah.
So sometimes when you're going to revamp something, they start to lessen what we're used to, and then they come out with a new version. But at least we need to kind of know what is happening. That would
add on to that, Boom. I mean, we did hear rumors previously, and I don't know, and I mean, it's not even a rumor. Xbox has said it themselves that they are trying to work on the achievement system as well to make that more enticing, and to make it not necessarily easier, but just change it, because it has been the same for quite some time. So maybe there's another change that's rolling. There could be multiple. It's a facet of multiple facets of things that could be going on behind the scenes, which is just like, man, why don't y'all just talk about it? And maybe they aren't ready to talk about it, but again, it's just weird, because it seems it can kind of come across wishy-washy. Like, why you're so upfront, but then you're like pulled back, and then you're upfront again. It's just really weird the way it comes across.
All right. I mean, listen, again, not the biggest story of the day, but one that I wanted to address because a lot of people are talking about it. Let me catch up on the super chats there, because quite a few of them. First of all, the first member chat of the day comes the way of LAD. Lad, what's going on, brother? He's been a channel member for 13 months. Thank you. He says Game Pass is on fire. It's absolutely leading the way. Indeed, it is. I think that when you look back to Xbox Game Pass from inception in summer of 2017 to now, it has consistently gotten better. And I think that 2023 has been a banger of a year for every type of game you could possibly imagine. Again, you go from the Pinocchio game to something like I'm playing right now. Jasant is a mountain climbing game. It's
getting good marks too.
Dope, dude. It is freaking awesome. And let me tell you something. Your trigger fingers is what you use for the game,
right?
You after an hour, you're gonna be like, I gotta put this down. My trigger fingers hurt because you're using the left and right to climb.
Right.
The game is dope. The game is really dope. I think it's gonna be in one of those. I think it's gonna be a surprise. Be in the running for Indie Game of the Year. That's how good of a game it is, and just that just lends to something like Sea of Stars. Now, Sea of Stars, I know also launched in PSN, which is great, but that's an indie game that it wasn't Game Pass day and date. And that game is looking to, it's Paris Lily, which, by the way, stopped by on Monday's show. Yeah, shout out to Paris. He actually said, so I put out a tweet just the other day talking about Sea of Stars, saying that it is the best RPG of the year. You know something? If you're an old school G, you ain't wrong. I'm going to tell you that right now. It is phenomenal. I got like maybe 2 or 3 hours in. And again, like I said, I don't have 5 shows. I don't have a lot of time. I'm playing a lot of games. I was playing RoboCop. Folks, if you didn't get RoboCop yet, my God, please buy this game. It is so freaking good. I actually just got an achievement that said, I'll buy that for $1. I nearly fell out of my chair because, of course, I'm a fan of the film. So good stuff. Good stuff. CYV Studio, all the way out of Central Florida, drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, one of my favorite game series of all time is the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And Modern Warfare 2019. Sadly, I had to refine Modern Warfare 3 after 2+ hours. The game is not a $70 game. Yeah, brother, I hear you. For me, I got there almost 30 hours into it, and I'm really enjoying it. And you know something? What everyone doesn't like about the game, I absolutely love, and that is the war zone-like levels, meaning that there are these orange boxes that are littered throughout the map. There's certain okay. So Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, what it was DLC. That's what it is, because you can tell that they had like the Jerry Bruckheimer parts where it's the movie and then it's the game. That's Call of Duty. These levels where you have to certain missions that you have to do within the level. You can do however you want to do them. Those are the things that they added in the middle that kind of gets filled to make it a full game.
Right.
I actually like those levels, folks. I'm not capping. I'm just being serious. Like, I'm a Far Cry guy, and I like these big maps, and I like a lot to do, and I like being dropped into a map and then being able to say, okay, here are my 3 objectives. I have to do this, this, and this. But how I get there is my choice.
Yeah, for Call of Duty.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think that it's as big of an issue as people are trying to make it seem. Like Warzone always gets this like unnecessary hate because it's a bunch of sweaty people, it's PvP, So, and that's always been my thing. But it's like, even as somebody who likes Warzone, somebody mentioned in the chat, and they were like, oh well, if you didn't ever play Warzone, then you probably like this. And it's like, I play Warzone and I like the way that the story is presented. It kind of feels more authentic in some ways because the military literally does that. They drop you in. Yep. Sometimes you don't have weapons. Sometimes you do, which my main problem is, how come I can't start off with a silencer? In like one of the very beginning missions, when you swap over to the US side, it's like, I'm in the military. Why don't I have silencers on my gun right now? But other than that, like, I at least think that it feels good to play. You have control over the experience. Like you said, Boom, you have a few objectives on the map. You know what the goal is, but how you get there, whether you want to look for some different guns because they carry over into other loadouts.
Yes.
If you want to use those. So it's like it's very inherent. It feels good, man. But that's just me. Maybe that's just us, Boom. We like just playing games and having a good time, and we just take them for what they are, right?
I like the fact that I start the game off with like a regular gun. I open up a case and there's a Gatling gun in there, and I'm like, okay, now we're talking. Now we're playing chess because I get to destroy everything in my path.
After fighting through guys, Boom, don't forget that you had to fight through guys to get to that box, or sneak by them.
Yeah, I do. I'm more of a sneaky shoot you in the head behind the corner kind of a guy. I know a lot of people like the stealth isn't great, but I can go through a whole map and not get caught, like not even set an alarm off. But that's why I have 30 hours, because I'll spend 2 hours in one of these boards trying to find everything and trying to politely get my way over there without alerting anybody. But it is what it is. Sherman Jacobs, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, Boom, you put on one of the best shows on YouTube. On point, brother. Thank you for the kind words. And of course, the generosities, Jacob. Jacobs, I should say. CYV Studios from Central Florida drops an additional $2 super chat. Actually, he drops 2. One $2 and one $5. The first one of $2, he says, to me, the game is a 5 out of 10. Just for the gameplay, brother. I hear. Listen, no arguments here. Some people think it's a 4. Some people think it's a 10. I don't think it's a 10. Me, I'm kind of like 8.
Yeah, it's not a 10. It definitely ain't that. Again, but I feel like that leads kind of credence. We talked about it last weekend, and we're going to continue to talk about it. But the review process does need a form of standardization, right? Yes. You can still put personality on it, but we got to find better ways to break things down, like graphics, gameplay, audio, like how we used to look at some of those things back in the day. Like the different elements of it really incorporate into a game, and at least from the presentation. From what we have gotten up to this point and how reviews have been treated, I don't care, even if it's your personal opinion, I do think that giving the game a 4, and I'm 3 to 4 hours in, giving the game a 4 at this point is very disingenuous.
I agree.
And it doesn't hold credence to the scale itself. If it's a 1 to 10 scale, right? Out of 5, I would think the game's at least to me thus far is a 3, maybe working its way up to a 4 if it continues to get better. I don't know, but again, that's just me. That's a whole other long drawn out conversation. Not everybody agrees with that either. But there has to be something. There has to be kind of a push-pull system that we can really break down. And again, Paris makes this point. Shout out to you, Paris. You're in the chat all the time, that people do need to actually start reading the content in those reviews too. So it's a double-edged sword.
Absolutely. He drops an additional $5 super chat and says, if you haven't played Warzone, which I have not, you may like Modern Warfare 3. Modern Warfare 3 is just Warzone with cutscenes. LOL. I'm happy that you're enjoying it. And you know what? Obviously, I'm sorry that you're not. You spent $70 because obviously that kind of sucks. Nobody wants to spend money on a game they're not going to play.
That's fair, but it's fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bunty, who's been a channel member for 29 months, brother, that is very kind of you. He says, from a person that is not from a person that is in an award system, I think that the reason is more rewarding and less spending from their customers, so they had to do something. I mean, we're going to find out, because like I said, I'm going to reach out to PR and find out, what's happening. I will say this. I never feel I'm owed anything. Never. Right. I am going to politely ask, hey, what's going on? And Microsoft is pretty transparent. Aaron Greenberg, one of the best in the business. If there is something that he can say, he can answer it, believe you me, we'll get an answer. And when we do, we will, of course, reveal that answer here on one of my live shows. But you know what I want to do? I do want to move on to the announcements. And first of all, shout out to Idle Sloth, among others, many others. But I love our Idle. He put out a tweet yesterday confirming that Alan Hartman, who previously was at Turn 10 Studios, has been promoted to the new head of Xbox Game Studios. And I think that is really a big deal. He was he first started out as the Forza studio head. He was then promoted in September of 2021 to corporate vice president of Forza and Fable. And obviously, just recently, the other day, he was promoted to the head of Xbox Games Studios. Now, this is a really big deal because Microsoft is specifically Xbox seems to be hitting all of these incredible milestones by rewarding their C-level executives that we all know by name and face. Phil being one of the first ones to get the promotion to head of Microsoft games, not Xbox, but Microsoft as a whole. Obviously, Matt Booty, as we know, was promoted. Now he is now not just in charge of one, he's also now in charge of Bethesda. I love that because obviously, a lot of us didn't know what Matt Booty does or did, and apparently that dude's a killer, because you heard in the courts, he was the guy that's like, hey, listen, we can outspend Sony out of business. That dude is like Agent 47. And of course, Sarah Bond, could not be more happier for her. A person in a position that is president of Xbox, well deserved, tenfold over. And she is, she walks silently and carries a lot of tenacity. And we saw that, of course, during the trial with the FTC. She handled herself probably the best out of everybody. I would even dare say better than Phil Spencer himself. She was cool as the other side of the pillow, and she answered the questions with oomph. And now, of course, we're here talking about Alan Hartman, who now takes over as head of Xbox Game Studios. I love this hire. I love the fact that they did not leave this position vacant and put all of this weight onto someone else. Alan, I think that I don't know personally, obviously, but I think he's going to do an amazing job. And I say all of that to say, Steele, when you look at the positive moves forward for Xbox since ABK, and you look at the other side, and we got to talk about PlayStation, and we're not being disingenuous and we're not being console warrior here. They have no leader. They're leaderless. They have no direction. They're directionless. We have no idea what's happening in 2024. I'm sure someone knows something, but when SIE has no leader and every shot is being called by Sony proper, there's a big problem. So let's take this back. What are your thoughts on Alan Hartman, now head of Xbox Game Studios?
Alan Hartman jumping up there is an extremely unique thing, mainly because he has been extremely successful with getting Forza out, right?
Yep.
In turn 10, it's just been a rock for Xbox, just overall since they've come into the fold. They've really
they're the
helped
Naughty
Xbox
Dogs
out, right?
Of Xbox.
Yeah,
would you say that?
Way.
Would that be fair to say?
I think Coalition would end up probably being
all right. Yeah.
I think maybe, but I think Turn 10 is probably more like Insomniac in a lot of ways.
That's what I meant. I said Naughty Dog. I didn't mean that. Actually, what I meant is Insomniac. That is correct. Yes.
They branched off and made sure they made a team and playground to make Horizon and carry over that quality that we saw in Motorsport into another IP. Really just a branch off. But for me, I think it signifies that they already had a lot of these moves that we are seeing. Tells me that when this deal was going through and they had their meetings and had all these things behind the scenes, that they already had a plan together of what needed to happen, who's going to be put where, how things needed to change, and what the overall vision of Xbox needed to be for the future. And I think what it is, and we'll have to wait to see this, but the only reason I'm going to say consistency is what they're trying to aim for truly. And when you hear Phil talk about having those a AAA game a quarter, first party studio game a quarter, I think consistency has to ring true within that same spectrum, right? So when you see people like Alan Hartman move up, Sarah Bond move up, Matt Booty get moved up, and again, as many people may feel critical about Matt Booty and what he's done, there's obviously something else going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to. Because until we got the emails, we didn't know that Matt Booty's a little bit more of a headhunter than even what we expected, right? He kind of comes across like I like to say like a reaper. He even said in those emails that, hey, we'll spin them out of business if we have to. Now, fortunately, that's not how this business works, right? We want this industry to be we want it to be interesting, but not in an interesting way that's we're just going to buy everything, because that's proven not to work, especially for Microsoft in many ways, but they are building up. So to me, this just establishes further that Microsoft backing Xbox, and Xbox with Phil now being the true head of the division of head of Microsoft gaming just in totality, and having all the key proponents under him. We thought we needed some restructuring, right? Halo releasing the condition that it did, and I think that they heard us, and that things are ringing true. And again, I don't work for Microsoft. I've never worked for Microsoft. I don't know what it takes to work for or work at Microsoft, especially on the gaming standpoint. But to me, they have made vast leaps and bounds, especially coming from the 360 generation, which again, that was also headed by another great and Peter Moore. But when you see that transition to the Xbox One gen, and now you're seeing everything that's transpired since 2017, all these moves that have been kind of made are solidifying the fact that Xbox is Xbox is doing things to make sure that they are going to be a force to be reckoned with moving into the future. They want people who know or have an idea of what, not even an idea, they know what the vision is, and are going to bring that vision to full completion. So again, I like the moving and shaking that's happening. Alan Hartman has nothing but pedigree behind him. Along with all the other kind of moves that we've seen, there's just a lot of pedigree that is coming up. And again, people could say that, oh, well, this is just talk. Why do you guys care about execs moving around and all these people who are making more money than us got 6-figure salaries and we're not getting any games? Well, look, 2023 has been a great year for gaming, especially on the Xbox side of things. Yep. If that is your main ecosystem, especially in comparison to their competitive PlayStation. But overall, just in totality, it's just been a great year in gaming. And so to see them make these changes, this gives me a lot of confidence as a gamer in the ecosystem, and gets me excited, man. So that's my thoughts on it.
Well, I mean, I will say this: if you want to talk about transparency, obviously, you know, what does what does Hartman mean for me as a gamer? Well, you said it. He has a significant pedigree behind him, so they're putting somebody in a position where we know it's going to be it's the best person for the job.
He's a doer.
It's a person that understands what first party games are all about. You know, he understands, you know, obviously the commitment to gamers, the importance of cadence, right? Of releasing these games. And you know, this announcement comes on the heels of two massive interviews. One we talked about last night on Primetime Gaming regarding Cyberbond, but it almost seems, Steele, that the Phil Spencer Famitsu interview was poo-pooed by the gaming media. And I'm not saying like no one cares, because some people reported on it. But there was a lot of information there. I mean, like real totality that no one seemed to pick up or even care to. Like, we're talking about it here. Well, we're considered small potatoes, and that's fine. But like, I can't believe we didn't see like you know, like this brought up on Unlocked, and maybe it was because I wouldn't give them a second of my time, and that's just how I feel about IGN. That's perfectly fine. But Phil Spencer in that interview said that not only is he is excited to be where he's at right now, Steele, he told the world that for the next 3 years, they're going to release, and I quote, a AAA blockbuster every 3 months. That should have been the talk of the town for the entire week, and it wasn't. And it just makes you listen. I'm gonna keep wearing my tinfoil hat over the mohawk until someone proves me wrong. But the gaming media don't want Xbox to win, and that's perfectly fine because they're all in bed with Sony. They're all in bed with Sony. They get like that Sony money. Sony is gonna find themselves by themselves because you know what? Most of the gaming media are a bunch of yellow bellies. They're gonna go where the money is, and as soon as Microsoft is and Xbox is in first place, you're gonna start seeing the positive articles from the GameSpots and from the IGNs and from the Kotakus, because they're gonna have to move with the leader, and the leader isn't gonna be PlayStation anymore. They're moving with the leader right now, PlayStation, because they're in first place, not for much longer. But I like what's going on at Xbox. I like the fact that we're getting those interviews from Cyberbond, from Phil Spencer. We get to learn of the inner workings of someone taking over Xbox Game Studios. I and again, as a content creator, it's great for us, Steele, because we get to talk about it.
Right.
But real quick, while we're on the subject, let me ask you this specifically: what Phil Spencer had to say about and again, folks, you can go and you can pull the Famitsu interview. But I think it's worthy of a conversation. He said for the next 3 years that they're going to have a AAA blockbuster or an anticipated game every 3 months. That's 12 games in the next 3 years. That is monumental, dude.
Yeah, that's the definition of insanity. I mean, again, if they end up hitting that on the head and actually bringing that to the forefront, I still have a hard time trying to bring that concept to life, right? But when you look at the years that we've had, especially, I mean, just coming off of this year, to tell me that there's going to be even more coming in the future, boom, like I already have a hard time deciphering where I'm going to spend my gaming time, right? Real life is still a thing. I'm a family man. I got actually 3 women in the house technically. So it's like 2 girls, 1 woman, but it's just, I'm already busy, right? So when I sit down and I have in the future and I have a selection of games, a backlog of games, I'm going to be fighting because I am in the public, right? I am a content creator of sorts. I always have to fight with that reality of like, man, I want to be part of the conversation right now because I create content. I want to talk about what's going on. We have to. but I like to play these other games because these are the things that speak to me, and these are things I was looking forward to, and I just now maybe had some time to play, right? It's just, if they end up being able to make that happen, I don't see a reality where Game Pass can't be successful, right? Because again, that's another form of reality that we still have to somewhat work through and deal with, and Microsoft has to prove, Xbox has to prove, because that's still the leading conversation when it comes to what's going on in gaming right now. A lot of people don't like what's happening, the consolidation, things being bought. It just the vast majority of it, because they think that is going to limit or lessen or do these other things in Game Passes, like the god that's the problematic god in this situation. At least that's how it's portrayed, right? Yep. I don't necessarily believe in that. I think more benefits than ever are coming to our door, coming to right to our doorstep, especially when you see that the exclusive conversation is changing. It's becoming a more inclusive conversation. Hey, we want to reach more gamers instead of, hey, you need to buy my box to play this game, right? How much greater would it be if Xbox, I mean, again, I'm not saying that all games need to be on one platform or this platform. I mean, all games are going to be on PC. At the end of the day, I don't know if people don't want to accept that, but that is the truth. That is going to be the one platform. But if Halo is going to stay on Xbox, then Halo needs to stay on Xbox. But it's going to be on PC. It's going to be on potentially the Switch. It could potentially be anywhere else that you have access to the Xbox ecosystem. And what would be wrong with that? What's wrong with the competitor doing something similar, or at least bottom line, at the very least, releasing games day and date to PC to give people more ways to jump in so that we can expand past the 300,000, I believe, or the 300 million, excuse me, way short. The 300 million gamers that we've been kind of capped out at least between specific hardware, right? We have to expand that out to the 3 billion gamers who want to be able to access content wherever they are, whether it's in bed, whether they just got home from a long day, because that is the truth of most people's lives. You want to turn people who aren't gamers into gamers, you have to meet them where they are. And technology is only improving in our phones. Apple is proving that to you. They're getting more serious about trying to reach people in that aspect too. So it's like things go hand in hand with each other. So it's crazy the way that things are being painted, but if they are able to make that happen where we get a AAA game every quarter, it's only going to raise the expectation. It's only going to raise the quality bar. And if anything, if they fail at it, or if we do see a decrease in quality, when do we put ourselves back in the driver's seat and say, hey, I need to control my wallet? Hey, I need to make sure maybe not spend this money on this game because I'm seeing it's not coming out complete, right? When do we put the responsibility in us as the consumers, where fortunately in gaming, we still have the majority of the power. If we instantly stop, if we didn't buy Call of Duty one year, oh, you better believe that Activision would definitely respond. But that's not the case because people keep buying, right? And that goes to that's for any game. If you allow things to continue to be the way that they have been and not fight back or not make changes or just be open, if anything, to the overall conversation, and kind of listen to everybody, we're going to continue to get stirred into this sauce, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a great points all around. And you know what? I want to segue into talking about one of the games that could, and I say could, be releasing next year. I think it's going to do gangbuster numbers on PC because of who is making the game. Right. But I think it's going to be one of those games that potentially has the chance to mimic the excitement and popularity of something like a BioShock. That is, of course, inXile's Clockwork Revolution. Now, before we get to that story, I do want to say a big thank you to Splendiferous in the chat, who drops a very generous $2 super chat in all caps. He says that's why Pete Hines left. He felt Booty wasn't better. I mean, maybe. Look, I'll say this. Pete Hines left on a high note because Starfield did Starfield overachieved.
It's doing well.
And
I don't
it's
care-
still
yeah, it's doing
still overachieving right now. So he left on a high note. But under his watch, Redfall happened. And that just cannot be, right? Now,
Yeah.
look, I make no excuses for Redfall. Folks, I got 80
Absolutely.
hours in the game. Am I a boob? Maybe. But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much. I started another character. So maybe I'm the fool.
you had
But
fun with it.
I enjoyed it. With that said, he was responsible for that. So after the success of Starfield, he's been with the company a long time. Now he wants to go drink his Mai Tais on the beach. Nothing wrong with that. Retirement is what it's all about.
Been doing it for a while, so.
But so I don't know, Splendiferous, if that was the case. But Matt Booty is now running the whole ship, so to speak, which I think is fantastic. But I want to talk about, for a second, Chad Moore. Now, Chad Moore, if you don't know who he is, well, he is at Poppylicious on Twitter or X.
Ooh, what a name.
Poppylicious. Go with your bad self there, fella. He is the game director of Clockwork Revolution at In Exile. And, he was responding to a post from Clobreel, of all people, because, well, Clobreel is one of the best in the business when it comes to relaying Xbox news. And he was doing this thing I thought was pretty brilliant, where he was spotlighting a studio, especially for the ABK side, such and such here, and Infinity Ward, this is what they've done. So he spotlighted In Exile, and he actually has a quote here from Brian Fargo, who, of course, is the head of the studio at In Exile. And Brian said this: the idea that I can go back in time and change stuff and see the ramifications. It's kind of the ultimate reactivity. We're leaning in so hard to make sure it's not just a parlor trick, but true reactivity. For, of course, he's talking about Clockwork Revolution. Now, I bring that up, Steele. And again, this is complete speculation, folks. I could be and probably am wrong, but I like to put on my detective cap every now and again and go, yesterday, or the day before, Clockwork Revolution was put up on the Steam wish list. Now, is that a big deal? Well, I think it is, because when we saw Clockwork Revolution, I'm going to be honest with you, it looked really done. It looked really good. It looked extremely polished. And let's call a spade. In Exile, well, they just don't miss. And this is a new IP. This has been cooking for a while. How much? How long it's been cooking? Well, I actually don't know, because I don't know people in the industry like that. But I can tell you, as a fan of BioShock, all three, I saw this game and I'm like, wow, this is the next evolution in what I would want the next BioShock to look and play like. And here it is. So with this, obviously Chad Moore coming out and making mention of this, Clobreel doing this spotlight on November 7th. Today is only the 9th. That was 2 days ago, right? Talk of the town is starting to happen with Clockwork Revolution, and it just happens to be up on, just posted yesterday, as available for the Steam wish list. Steele, my question to you is this. We heard Phil Spencer say that they're going to have 4 AAA blockbusters every year. Now, in 2024, what we do know is Avowed is supposed to launch. Hellblade 2 is supposed to launch, right? Depending on what your definition of blockbuster is, Towerborn is supposed to launch. We know that Call of Duty Black Ops Gulf War is going to be in November of next year. That's the rumor. But Blockbuster, AAA, that's what Phil said. I have a strong suspicion, and again, folks, I could be wrong. Could you imagine those 4 games I just mentioned, and you add Clockwork Revolution to that list? Wow. Now, you're a Steam guy. You're a PC guy. You understand PC.
Mhm.
Is it a big deal that this has now been put up on Steam for their wish list?
Is it a big deal? Yeah, you could see it as that. Maybe they want to start getting work done on it early. There's a lot of games that come into Steam pretty early on. Some go into early access and stay in there for some time. Others, not so much. But I don't know if it exactly says that it's coming out next year as an example, because it could be the year after. It could be a 2025 game, though. From what we saw from the trailer and everything, and again, I'm not the I'll be completely upfront, I'm not an Exile Entertainment fan, not because their games are bad or I have some discriminatory thing against them or whatever. Nah, there's none of that. I haven't played their games. I'm not up my alley or my style of games typically. But from what I saw originally from the Clockwork Revolution trailer, it did seem interesting, right? I'm very picky about my first person games. I'm one of the guys that I haven't played a Far Cry yet, period. Now I keep hearing great things about Far Cry 3, so I might try to give that a run on PC. But that's just to give you an example of how critical I can be, or how I just don't look at some of those games, especially when they're more single player focused. But this game is doing some things that are very unique. The art style seems really dope, especially coming off of Lies of P. I kind of have this thing now where I want to see more of that, the puppeteering, that aspect of it, and what others can do with and I know with Clockwork it's different because you're working more with like mechanics versus like puppeteering, although Lies of P also was very mechanical in its puppeteering. So they hold a lot of things in common with one another. And I would like to see somebody else kind of take that and run with it. Now, the more that I watched the trailer from Clockwork Revolution, I saw somebody recently, I believe it was Jamie Moran. Shout out to Jamie. But I think he posted some gameplay. It was like a 36-second clip. I don't know if it's intentional or not. The gameplay does look choppy in sections. Maybe it's intentional, like Lies of P. That's one of the main complaints that people have, that I even had to take some time to get used to as someone who is a Souls fan, is that because it's intended to feel more mechanical, it kind of comes across like, oh, why isn't it smooth, right? So maybe it's just me because other parts of the game, at least from the cinematics and things that they've shown, aren't that way. So I'm hoping that the gameplay is not necessarily that like that. But again, I'll throw another one out there. I don't have that draw to BioShock either, because my closest thing for BioShock is BioShock Infinite. And I thought the game was interesting, but I never got beyond 3 hours in it, right? So I don't have that relation to BioShock like a lot of people do. I've only ever heard the positives that people say about it, how it's one of the most one of the greatest games to them, especially Pong. He tells me that all the time, but it's just like, I still don't have anything in me that says, oh man, you should go play that, right? I am interested in it since it's coming to Game Pass. It does allow me, that's where experiences like this are extremely unique, and I'm grateful for the Game Pass service, because otherwise I probably would have never even tried this game or gave it a second look. Just because it's on Xbox doesn't do anything for me, right? Or just because it looks a certain way doesn't do anything for me, because it doesn't typically it's not typically within my wheelhouse. But because I do have access to it, it coming to Steam is going to be great, but I'm excited for it to come into just becoming the Game Pass overall, more so than anything. But I do think that Steam leads to some credibility that the game could be releasing next year. It seemed very well put together from the trailer that we got. And again, aside from some of my little things that I've pulled out, and some of my small disinterests, or whichever the case, or big, depending on how you look at that, I think everything does lead up to the game being ready next year. Again, I believe their last game was Wasteland 2. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Correct me in chat, please. Again, I'm not extremely familiar with their games, but yeah, so it's like they've had some time since that game has come out. And I can't imagine this is not some grandiose game or whatever. Seems it has a coherent story. It's probably going to be about maybe 20, 30 hours long, maybe longer, depending on the difficulty and things to that nature. So I'm interested to see more, hear more, and if it does lead into that to next year's calendar, boom! I think we have another year that's already lining up to just have a excellent, at least selection and quality type games, right? That we look for.
Well, I mean, the whole point of I mean, you remember
Wasteland
that
3.
yeah, Wasteland Wasteland 3 was the last one. I am gonna say this at this cadence, you have to look at Microsoft. If you're an Xbox gamer, right? You have to look at Microsoft. You have to. We've been asking for this for years, right? It has taken a long time, and I say a long time because like 5 years really isn't that long of a time. But when you look at what Phil Spencer has done post E3 2018, I say this all the time to now. 2018, when they announced the acquisition of 5 studios and the creation of the initiative to where we are now, 44 studios later. That he did that in 5 years, folks. That's insane. And they're not even done. They're not even close to being done. We know that Embracer is in a bit of a pickle, right? So we're all hoping, fingers crossed, that they can acquire Eidos Montreal and Crystal D. But I'm also hoping that they can bring home the 4A developer as well, because 4A is also owned by Embracer. That would be a great studio to bring in house. Obviously they're working with Avalanche, they're working with the Asobo, they're working with Certain Affinity. These are all studios that could easily, IO Interactive, could all join XGS in the next 12 to 18 months before they consider buying another publisher. Because before they get in bed with another publisher, I'd like to see them lock up all these small studios first. And if they do that, the output already, Steel, seems almost unattainable. Like when you look at it, like how is anyone else in the industry going to be able to keep up with this pace? And I don't think anyone can. Like I said, I don't count Nintendo in the conversation because you know what's Steel? Nintendo is going to do what Nintendo does, right? That's just what they do. So I'm not worried about Nintendo. They have a new console coming out next year. It's launching supposedly with the 3D Mario, which is awesome. You might get a new Animal Crossing in there as well, which would be kind of dope.
Hopefully
That'd be great for me and Mrs. Boom. Yeah, that'd be great for us. But Sony, and we're gonna talk about this tomorrow because we got some information from Hiroki Totoki, who is the interim head over at PlayStation running SIE right now. Remember, he was supposed to be there temporarily. He has confirmed that he's going to be there for a year. And there's some other stuff he confirmed that if you are a Sony fan, you got to be real worried about what the future looks like, at least for the next 12 to 24 to 36 months. It don't look good. It definitely does not look good because and more proof that Jim Ryan was fired, not sent on his retirement package. But look, let me catch up on these last super chats, and then we will get everyone out of here. Remember, this is just a 70-minute show, and I'm starting to get really stuffy, as you can hear. I feel awful, but show business. The show must go on. We have here Splendiferous drops an additional $2 super chat and says, "This is why I like LSS Living Split Screen. This guy Steel is detailed. Indeed, he is. Angry Hippie. Welcome to the program. He drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, can't think of a better way to hit level 40 than listening to Xlog Live. That is awesome. And I'm not sure what you hit your level 40 on. Maybe it's Call of Duty. If you did, there's an achievement. I think it's 90 points if you hit level 55, which I don't think I'll ever get to. But yeah, I'm an achievement hunter. So I'm doing that right now. But listen, folks, a big thank you to the near 500 people we had here today. Hopefully you like the program enough to hit the like button on your way out the door. If you're finding the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing. We are 300 and change away from 14K, folks. And it would be pretty dope to hit that by year's end. We work really hard here. We deliver 5 live shows Monday through Friday, all great content, all different and great panel members. And you know what we don't do? We don't hate monger. We don't sell hate for your click, your like, or your sub. We talk about things. We laugh. We have fun. We bring the facts when they need to be brought, and we give the smoke where necessary. But Steele, let's get you out of here, brother. Tell everyone about Living Split Screen with you and Pong Soul. Obviously, there's not going to be a show this Saturday because families first, right? But you'll be back the following week. Where could people subscribe to Living Split Screen and, more importantly, reach out to you on social media?
Well, it was a fantastic episode, Boom, and I appreciate you having me on. Hopefully, I was able to bring a little bit of energy to help power you through, man, because I know how it is being sick. But you can definitely tune in to Living Split Screen. A split screen's all one word. Every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. UK time. It is the home of a non-console centric platform, so keep that in mind, and also of the RTS perspective, where we pull ourselves out of the world, look at the darker crevices of the map, we pull those resources together so we can not only build up our own foundation, but also build up our foundation to reach those 3 billion gamers that Phil Spencer always talks about. Also, we like to pride ourselves in an educated consumer perspective, so come tune in, come hear us out. I always like to say, come sit within the rain and come get some gaming soul to fuel your weekend. But you can find me, Steel Rain. The T is a 7 everywhere. Google's probably the easiest place. All my information comes up from there. But I frequent the streets of Twitter, otherwise known as X, and the Xbox ecosystem, just because it works so well in tandem with PC and whatnot. And other than that, Boom, I want to again say thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on when I can be on. It was perfect the way you got me last time, because I couldn't be on last week, but you were like, hey, let's get it set up. So I was able to fit it into the schedule, make sure everything was going to work out perfectly. And since it is typically a 70-minute show, it works out so perfectly for me, typically on a Thursday. So appreciate your love, Boom. Continue to do great things, be great. Again, I always like to say this because it's truth. You are a pillar to this community.
Thank
you
you,
are
sir.
A shining example of what many of us should try to be.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
At least on a stand front that I like to put it in. Know not only what you stand for as a gamer, but also know who you are and what you stand for as a person.
Yes.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, much love and stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.
Well, thank you so much for the very kind words. Yeah, listen, when we decided to make this channel, inclusiveness, honesty, integrity, transparency, these were all the crux and the foundation, as well as being a community first pair of people, which is Boom and I are. And we strive to be better each and every show. When we get it wrong, we let you know that we got it wrong. When we have a misunderstanding, like we did at the beginning of the week regarding reading the super chats as they came in, rather than at the end of the show, which we did on Friday because of the giveaway, and Monday because of Paris Lily, who was a special guest. And, obviously we got to give him his flowers while he's there, because, I don't know if we're ever going to get Paris Lily back, but, the fact that he took the time to be there, we had to read the super chats at the end, and some people were concerned that was going to be the norm. And of course, I did what, I reached out to Mrs. Boom and said, what do you think? She says, yeah, get on the horn and let people know, and do one of those community messages. And well, that's exactly what I did. And you know what? Everyone understood. So that's what it's all about, is transparency, is talking it out. And listen, we cannot thank everyone enough for the generous support through super chats, and of course through channel memberships, and all the super chats that came in today. We're very thankful and grateful for that support. And of course, Steele, thank you so much for taking 70 minutes of your day to join me here today. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back here tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, on the new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm literally writing that show as we speak. So don't forget to tune in here at Double Barrel Gaming. And of course, I'm going to close out the show, folks, with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, Craig, I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of X Vlog Live.